X does, they auto refresh the feed, which is really annoying sometimes.
That's what happens.
Sometimes I'll open it and I'll see something right away that I want to read.
Yeah. Oh, here it is.
And then it's gone before I can even read it or
I don't like that.
No, I don't like it either. I've seen people complain about it too.
It's always been like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's something interesting. I just got this. This came as a push notification on X from Geoffrey Moore. Remember Geoffrey Moore?
No.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't.
You studied him in college, I think.
He's the crossing the chasm guy.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
He's a startup guy.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
So I follow him.
B2B.
Yeah, I read one of his books. So here we go. So he's got an interesting tweet here. You ready? I'm going to read this to you.
Sure.
Consciousness. I don't know why he's talking about this, so I didn't click the link. He's got a link.
Okay.
So I'm going to do the link with you. Okay. This is going to be a bust or very good. Okay. Consciousness is the product of choice. Bilateral organisms need to turn left or right.
Okay.
Well, that's true. And from that, but I talk about that too, actually. Right? Turning left or right, but I don't talk about consciousness as being responsible for that. I talk about intellect. Okay. Bilateral organisms need to turn left or right, and from that necessity, awareness emerged.
Oh. Okay.
Evolution is the miracle. We're just here to decode it.
Yeah, he's talking about a biological consciousness. He's not talking about anything spiritual.
Well, yeah, now he's got, and there's this actually really cool picture. You probably can't see it from there.
No, I can't.
But it's a really cool picture of neurons, and it looks like brain.
Okay.
Neuroscience.
I've seen 1,000 of them, so I don't know how cool.
Right, so I'm gonna click the link. I click the link. All right, great. There's nothing. It's just sending me to a neuroscience link. No big deal.
Yeah, it's consciousness from a scientific perspective has nothing to do with spirituality. So that's all he's talking about.
Yeah, and it's all that's what a lot of, oh, here we go. Okay, well, no, now it's going to an article that I wrote. I'm not going to read the article now during the podcast, but interesting. Okay, what is the atheist explanation for the existence of consciousness and subjective experiences by Geoffrey Moore?
Okay.
And he's commenting on, I guess he wrote another book called The Infinite Staircase, maybe? Is that the name of it?
Mm.
So I haven't read it, but it's kind of interesting. Yeah, he's got a whole thing here.
I wonder if he's an atheist.
I don't know. He's a scientist. Well, he's not a scientist.
No, he's not a scientist.
He's
a business guy.
He's a business guy, but he's quoting a lot of science here.
Sure.
Okay. Well, that's cool. He's an intellectual, that's for sure.
I guess.
He's got a lot of good stuff. He's a guy with, early adoption and the whole marketing chain there. So I thought I'd bring that up. That's kind of interesting. You had mentioned the other day about lithium.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Speaking of brains. Mm-hmm. And I was interested. Now you weren't talking about lithium ion batteries, right?
I wasn't.
No. Okay. So you're talking about lithium as what?
Lithium as a potential supplement that a microbiologist was proposing, because it's not currently accepted as a possible supplement right now.
The microbiologist being that fellow Michael Nell.
Michael Nels.
Yeah, right. Nels.
And he thinks that it helps with keeping your hippocampus from shrinking.
Right.
Which leads to Alzheimer's and stuff like that. And he thinks that we should normalize lithium supplements, because right now it's not considered a trace mineral. He thinks it should be considered a trace mineral, and it's not.
Well, you can buy it over the counter.
Is it over the counter?
I
think in Europe maybe you can't. And he's German, so maybe that's why.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I looked him up, and most of his stuff is in German.
Yeah.
But the stuff that I found in English, one of the things because it interested me.
Yeah.
Schwarzhoff. I was on that podcast. I was a guest on that podcast.
Yeah.
That guy in Germany.
In
Munich, and he introduced me as Daniel Schwarzhoff.
Schwarzhoff.
Yeah, nobody ever says it right.
Did he say Schwarzhoff?
He said Schwarzhoff.
Yeah. Did he add the T?
Oh, I think so. He might have.
Yeah.
I think you're supposed to, actually.
Yeah, like Mozart. Pizza.
Yeah, but Mozart has a T.
No, it does not.
Pizza has a T.
No, it does not. My dad is a writer, and he cannot spell.
In England, they have tea with pizza. Trust me. Okay. So okay, yeah. So I was looking it up. I have a really interesting experience with lithium, actually.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, that you don't even know about.
Okay.
You thought you knew everything about me.
Well,
No, I didn't take it, but it goes back to my my growing up in the Bronx days. There was this. We lived in the Bronx. You've seen the building where I used to live on Overing Street and Tremont Avenue in the Bronx. It was this 5-story tenement walk up.
Okay.
Yeah, and it didn't have an elevator or anything. We lived on the 4th floor, and marble staircases and wrought iron railings and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Sounds really ornate, but it was a dump. It was
Yeah.
full of cockroaches and drunks in every apartment. It was really pretty pathetic. And we had living next door to us, there was this woman who actually happened to be a childhood friend of my mother's at the time, right? And she was a mental patient. I mean, she was really nuts. She was crazy. Her name was Gloria, I remember. And she lived with her mother in the apartment next door, and she would be like she would just like go off the wall. She'd be roaming around the halls, crying, and her big thing at the time was, the boys in Vietnam, and she'd be, like crying and tears running about, talking about the war and carpet bombing in Cambodia, and I mean, she just went on and on about Vietnam, and she was certifiably insane.
Yeah.
And anyway, yeah, she went to. They would put her away in this. Right in the neighborhood. Actually, we had a place called. What was the name of it? Bronx State Psychiatric Unit, and it was a mental hospital.
Yeah, an asylum.
It was an asylum, really, because I don't know if it still operates this way now. It's still there.
Probably not,
because we drive by it all the time when we go down there. But
is that the place with bars on the windows?
Yeah, it's got bars on the windows, and then I feel, wow, and they did have padded cells. I don't even know if they do padded cells anymore.
I'm sure they do.
Rubber rooms
somewhere. Yeah,
they had that, and she would wind up there and
straight jackets,
she'd
whatever.
Get straightened out, and she'd come back like this, totally subdued, totally docile.
Oh man,
nothing wrong with her. Hi, Danny. Could you go get me a pack of Pall Malls? I would buy. She would send me out for cigarettes.
How long was she in there for? Like at a time?
She would go like for a month at a time or something.
Oh man.
Yeah. Anyway, she wouldn't take her medications, so my mother took charge of her medications for her. She knew her mother. She lived with her mother there. Her mother was very nice. She was actually very nice too, but when she was lit up, that was it. You couldn't talk.
Lit up on nothing.
No, I don't mean on drugs. When her brain was wherever it went.
Yeah.
And so my mother took charge of giving her medications, and I sometimes would go in next door and bring the medications, and I would have to watch while her mother administered the medications. And one of the medications was lithium.
Okay.
Lithium, something, maybe lithium carbonate or something.
That sounds like it might be it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be a compound of some kind.
Yeah, it was a compound. So she would take it, and she would become totally docile. Absolutely. She'd be like walking around like this. Now, people are taking lithium over the counter. I mean, they're not taking these large doses. They're microdosing lithium.
Microdosing, yeah.
And it's a mood changer.
Right.
Changes your mood.
Right.
I mean, I'm all for supplements. I take a lot of supplements myself, but that's due to what I have determined have been nutritional deficiencies.
Yeah. Minerals.
Yeah, minerals, trace minerals, and vitamins. And poor Gloria was not deficient lithium. That's why she they were given. I don't know what the doses were, but they're probably a couple hundred milligrams in each dose or something like that. So I looked up these, or maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. Maybe it's small. Maybe it's not that high.
Might be smaller.
Yeah, that sounds really high. Because these micro doses that I looked at are like a milligram or less. So maybe so you have prescription lithium that they still use.
Yeah.
And they have non-prescription lithium, which you can buy yourself in small quantities and change your mood. And I'm all for supplements, but changing your mood is something you really shouldn't be doing, because there's a reason why your mood is that way. There was this guy, you know how it came about? There was this guy in...
They prescribe it for like depression and stuff like that.
Yeah, depression. Manic depression, or the bipolar, what they call bipolar now. But that's where it came from originally, was that term manic depression.
Bipolar, yeah.
They would take these. Bipolar is what we use now. The idea that someone is manic, meaning, excited.
Yeah.
Right. They're like hyper alert and actually in a good mood.
Right.
I'm oversimplifying. And then when you're depressed, you're in a bad mood, fatigue
And it cycles.
tired, can't get out of bed and all that sort
Right.
of. Yeah, and you go back and forth.
Which bipolar meaning two poles, two
yeah.
states.
So
they call it. They also call it unipolar depression. Is what we just call depression.
Unipolar.
Yeah, I've heard it referred to as that with respect to bipolar depression.
I see. Okay.
Bipolar versus unipolar.
I see. Okay.
It's just unipolar is just depression.
There's a doctor in Australia who was in World War II, I believe. And he observed, and he was a prisoner. He became a prisoner. I don't know who captured him or wherever, but he was in this prison. And he observed that the psychiatric patients or the mental patients in the prison, he developed a theory. His theory was that they were being malnourished. So his theory was that they had built up toxins due to malnourishment inside of their bodies, and that's why that they were manic.
Okay.
And they were very hard to control. So he gets out of the prison. He's in a hospital. He's in Australia, and he's working in a psychiatric ward down there. And he wants to experiment. Okay. So he starts taking the urine from the manic psychiatric patients and injecting it into guinea pigs.
Okay.
Which guinea pigs? He's testing it on
the urine.
The urine.
Ugh.
Yeah. And they didn't do so well. It killed them.
Well, I wouldn't want to be injected with urine either, by the way.
Yeah, it didn't work out so well for the poor guinea pigs.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So what he did was he decided to try. I guess lithium is a medium that will help dissolve other things. I'm not sure exactly how that works, but he decided that he was going to take the uric acid out of the urine and inject that into the guinea pigs, but he couldn't get it to get into an injectable form. So he had to mix it with lithium, which somehow made it soluble. And then he would inject that into the hamsters, into the guinea pigs.
Yeah.
Right. And they became very docile and calm from that.
Okay.
So he thought, and they didn't die. So he figured, all right, maybe it's only the lithium that's working.
So he incidentally used lithium.
Yeah.
Okay.
And all of a sudden they're getting calm. So he said, well, is it the uric acid or is it the lithium? He says, it's got to be the lithium. So he injects them somehow with lithium, just the lithium, and it has the same effect, right? So now he wants to experiment on humans. So he experiments on himself. He injects himself with lithium. Now he's not manic, so nothing happens. He also doesn't die. So he says, I didn't die. I guess the patients here aren't going to die either. So he starts injecting the patients, the manic patients, with lithium, and they start zoning out, and they start becoming docile, and they start calming down. So that's how they do. The problem is there's also something in psychiatry called blunting. You may have heard that term.
Maybe.
Well, that's what was happening to Gloria. I mean, she was walking around. It wasn't like she was on she wasn't doing the Thorazine shuffle through the hallways, but which is another compound that they use for schizophrenia and stuff like that. But she was like totally unemotional and just zonked out all the time, And that's what these people are doing to themselves. They're zonking themselves out. I'm all for supplements when it's used the right way, but to change your mood, it's absolutely.
Yeah. You mean mineral supplements? No, but and I know that Michael Nels, who's the microbiologist, I did skim an article in the past with him about lithium,
right?
And he makes it very clear that he's like, this is replacing a something you're supposed to have anyway. It's for deficiency.
I did look that up.
So he thinks he uses the word deficiency a lot because he knows that he's going to attract a lot of attention criticizing him.
Right. I would have.
Yeah.
I actually did criticize him. That's why I looked it up.
Right.
But I found out that he is talking about deficiency.
Right.
Gloria was not deficient in lithium. Okay.
No.
Lithium Gloria weighed 300 pounds or plus. She was huge. She had plenty of food, plenty of water. Lithium is everywhere in low doses that we need. It's in the water. It's in our regular drinking water. It's in our food
I was
supply.
not picturing a gigantic woman.
Oh yeah, she was gigantic.
For this story.
She was gigantic.
Okay.
Yeah. Her mother was a great Italian cook. Her mother used to bring veal cutlet parmesan and pasta fazool.
Now I know why you guys were friends with her.
Yeah. Supposedly she worked at, I don't know. Half the stories you hear in my family, you never know. Supposedly she was, also Gloria. My mother used to tell me, Gloria, the big woman.
Yeah.
When she was like in her prime, in her youth, was like knockout gorgeous. Like every guy in the neighborhood was after her.
Right.
I don't know. And her mother, I forgot her name. Straponi was the name. They just knew her as Mrs. Straponi. Supposedly, she turned down an offer to become the head chef at Mama Leone's in New York, which was a famous Italian restaurant at the time.
Yeah.
So I don't know what stories are. I don't even know if these stories are real anymore.
There's something about Italian food from New York.
Yeah.
Like New York Italian food. Italian American food, specifically the New York kind, it's different than what they make in the Midwest. It's different than West Coast.
It's different than what they make in Italy.
Well, yes, but I'm specifically talking about within America.
Right.
Because I've met people who say, "Oh yeah, I'm Italian. I love Italian food," and I've seen what they eat or what their mother makes or whatever. I'm like, doesn't look like the meatballs I get.
Yeah.
That does not look like
they don't know
chicken cutlets I see.
People from I never. There was this guy.
The Midwest, they're crazy with their food. Their
meatballs. Their meatballs. They get their meatballs from Hormel, don't they?
Stuff like that. It's like no.
There was this guy. He wasn't from the mid. Oh, actually, yeah, he was from the Midwest. Wait a minute. No, he was from Kansas City, and he came to New York. And I was doing business. I was with a company at the time, and we were doing business. And I was going to take him out to lunch. So he came to visit me at the office. We did business. I said, let's go out to lunch. We went out to lunch. We went to this pretty famous Italian restaurant in the Bronx in New York, and it was really fancy, really expensive, kind of glitzy, and they had great, great food there. I mean, I had my high school graduation. I was a kid was there. I've had birthday parties there. It was really, really good. I think your mother and I had our I don't know, one of our pre-wedding party, whatever they call that. I don't know. We ate there. It's really nice. Anyway, so we went there. We're sitting at, the menus come out. The waiters are all dressed up, nicely in white tablecloths. And we get the menus, and I'm looking at the menu, and I'm trying to figure out what to have. And the guy's looking at the menu. It's all in Italian, And I'm used to it. And he's looking at it. He goes, Dan, this I don't know what's on this menu. He says, it's not English. So I go, oh, okay. I said, well, he goes, what's cataletta? It's cutlet. Oh, okay. Zuppa soup. He doesn't, they don't know. So anyway, he goes, I said, look, if you have a problem, just order the baked ziti. Just order that. You can't go wrong with that. Because I don't want to have to describe what everything is to the guy. So he goes, okay. Oh, good idea. And he's looking at the menu and goes, Dan? I said, what? What's ziti? I'm like, oh my God. He doesn't know what ziti is. Oh my God. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. Where was he from?
He was from Kansas City.
Yeah.
Actually, he was from, believe it or not, he's from a place in Kansas, near Kansas City called Manhattan.
That's actually funny. Yeah. There's a few Manhattans, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll get these Facebook videos. Do you see these reels on Instagram and Facebook with like Midwestern recipes where they make these like disgusting casseroles? Like take the macaroni and cheese and pour it in, and then add the ricotta on top of it.
I can't
and
watch
then
those
put
things.
some mozzarella on top, and now they don't say it. They say ricotta and mozzarella. But anyway,
yeah. No, I saw one of those things
gross.
come by. That somebody was making a lasagna, and they were putting like lasagna noodles in a bundt pan. I said,
yeah, what are you doing?
Oh my God.
Stop it.
Get out of here.
Stop it.
This hillbilly stuff is driving me crazy.
Oh, and by the way, going back to the asylum. So what?
Sure.
What are you going to say?
No, I just pictured, and then they put Oreos in it.
Yeah, no, they do stuff like that. It's weird.
Oreos.
It's like, then I sprinkle some powdered sugar on top. And
then some pork and beans.
Yeah, I love adding beans to this recipe because
in England they eat beans and toast.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I was going to say about the asylums.
Okay, go ahead.
Something that changed radically in the 80s. It started before the 80s. Is that we essentially, as a nation, got rid of asylums.
Right.
It became very taboo to have insane asylums and to send people there. So that's one of the reasons we have so many homeless people now.
Right.
We have a lot of crazy homeless people.
Previously, we would lock them up.
You'd lock that guy up.
Yeah, because they are nuts.
Because they are nuts.
They do have mental issues that have to be tended to.
And in many ways,
and they're not getting care out on the street.
No, they're a danger to society
Yes.
in many cases. But now we have health clinics and homeless shelters, and they get prescriptions like, I guess back then, lithium and other things. And I'm sure they're on tons of crazy stuff now that just totally sedate them. And you see these people out on the streets, and they've been made docile. You know, and I saw somebody on X blame Ronald Reagan for that. Ronald Reagan gets the blame for that, believe it or not. Okay. Ronald Reagan shut down the insane asylums, and that's why we have these societal problems now. You know, in the streets.
So I don't know that he did that. What do you mean?
Yeah. So, and these are conservatives blaming Ronald Reagan. These are the guys who are coming along who are like, everything we've been told is a lie, and he was a neocon boomer and all this stuff. There was this big push against tradition, actually, against American tradition. But anyway, and it's coming from the right, actually, which is dangerous. But anyway.
Well, these are new right people. They weren't even born when Reagan was.
No, they weren't. That's right.
Yeah,
they were not born.
So the left has continually tried to rewrite history.
Yes.
And try to rewrite everything that Reagan did.
Yes, and
having not lived through it.
And here's the thing, and this is a broad picture. It's too big of a point to make in such a small amount of time I'm going to take right now. But collectivism, communism, fascism, they're all forms of collectivism.
Sure.
Part of implementing a system like that is doing away with your history, doing away with the past,
Absolutely.
doing away with and rejecting where you came from a lot of the time.
Right.
So if we're in America here and you're saying America, and I have friends who adopt some of these ideas. They're not full on, like, they're not fascists or anything like that, but I see them reading these things and they go like, oh, maybe that's true. And I'm like, no, you're falling for it. Like, you know, America, like, we were founded, but our Constitution just wasn't strong enough. It's like, you know, we should have embraced tradition more. And so I'm like, no, you're missing the point. Anyway, so
I know, but to say that, you probably haven't been educated in it.
I know a lot of people have been educated, and this is where the anger and the fear and the emotions come in. It doesn't matter how well educated you are if you're susceptible to emotion and emotional manipulation. That's the truth. Because I mean, Nazis, for example, they were intellectual people. They were smart people. They had, you know, they had studies, they had books, they had scientists, and they still did all that stuff.
Right.
So the point is, how educated you are, the size of your intellect will not stop you from becoming a menace.
Right.
It won't. So anyway. But my friends are not menaces. But anyway, so part of that is rejecting tradition, rejecting the past, and resenting the people who came before you, so you can tear down and build anew.
Right.
That's the whole, like, collectivist push. So I'm seeing some people on the right do that even with Reagan, and they're saying like, you know, all these homeless, crazy people we have on the streets ruining our cities. Ronald Reagan started that by shutting down the insane asylums. And that was in the 80s. And so I looked it up. So I'm like, well, I don't want to blame Ronald Reagan for this. And I find this person to be dubious who's suggesting this, because I know this strategy that I just explained of hating the past and building anew, and why that's a dangerous thing. And I looked it up, and what I found was that Carter actually federalized the system. So Carter actually, he signed a bill where the government was going to pay for all these asylums in the states.
Federal.
Yeah. President Carter.
Right.
So now the federal government is going to fund the asylums.
Right.
And Reagan, in an effort to reduce federal spending said, no. This is a state issue.
Right.
We're not going to fund this. You fund it, like you had been up until 4 years ago.
Right.
And he said, I'm revoking this federal spending for your crazy people. States. The states are supposed to handle it. And that's actually, ironically, that ideology is called federalism, where the federal government has a job, the states have their own job, and they're supposed to do it themselves without the federal government. So
what happened?
Over.
They didn't take on the job?
Right. The states did a bad job. That's right.
Yeah.
The state governments, California, New York, whatever,
right.
Basically didn't like that they were going to lose their funding, their newly found federal funding, and they decided to shutter their asylums instead of fund them. So it's this. It's the onus was on the states, and the buck was passed to the states, and the states said nope. So it's really the liberal states that did it, not Ronald Reagan. Shouldn't blame Ronald Reagan for not funding it.
What about
with federal
the conservative
money.
states?
Conservative states. That's a good question. I'm not sure which states had conservative governments at the time, or what they did. But yeah, but I mean, the major cities that have big homeless problems now, they're all
so somebody
they're all liberal.
says so somebody
states.
says that, and somebody says that, and somebody before you know it, it's like, oh, another terrible thing that Ronald Reagan did, and you know
It's not true. Yeah,
and it's not true. And the thing that you were touching on, I think it's a big subject. Actually, we should talk about it one day. Is that when you erase the past like that, and you're just existing now, like I mentioned, these people now, they weren't around when Reagan was around. They're just listening to what people are saying about it.
Yep.
And if you erase the memory of the truth, then pretty soon going forward, no one has a memory to compare anything to. So they think that what is now is right, is all there is, and they don't even know what the truth is.
Right.
So they have nothing to compare it against.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, at the same time, it's very hard to know the truth.
And I don't just mean politics. I mean everything.
It's very hard to know the truth about things that you weren't there to witness yourself. Very hard to figure it out. When you read about even, the start of World War II, who attacked who first, like Germany, for example, it's like, well, did they, I mean, was that a false flag operation? Did they stage that stuff like that?
Yeah, right.
It's really hard to, and you read it and you're like, there's no way for me to possibly know what happened first.
Yeah.
I can sort of get a big picture. I can see maybe who's right and who's wrong, who was motivated by evil and who was by good, and some things I just can't figure out. And you have to live your life anyway.
Yeah.
But
when I was younger, it was like, I would hear, back in World War II,
Yeah.
I remember,
Right.
FDR, and oh God. And now I'm one of those guys. I'm like, I remember Ronald Reagan.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody wants.
You're not a veteran, though.
No, I'm not a veteran.
No, I thought you meant the veterans.
No, not just veterans.
You did have World War II vets, though.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, my father was he was a Korean War vet.
Korean War.
Yeah. My phony father, my first father, who turned out he's not my father. He was in the Navy. He was World War II Navy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
to whom we own our
name. Yeah, right. Which is not correct.
To whom we owe our namesake.
If everything went well, if everything went genetically the way it's supposed to be, our name would be Doherty.
Doherty.
Yeah, Doherty.
Yeah.
But it can't be Doherty because Doherty was already married. So,
Great.
Yeah, he already had a wife. So
great.
This is a story. Well, people wouldn't be interested in that. But yeah. So memories of the past.
Yeah. Well, when I was growing up, we used to have I used to see a lot of old men with hats that said Vietnam on it.
Yeah, sure.
It was Vietnam vets, and they proudly wore their hats. See them just sitting there like this, and I don't see them anymore. I guess a lot of them are gone.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
Which you were almost a Vietnam veteran.
Yeah, I was almost.
Right?
Yeah, they stopped the draft just as I was turning 18.
Right.
As a matter of fact, we went down, me and a bunch of kids from I went to St. Raymond's High School for Boys in the Bronx, and me and a bunch of other kids. My friend Bobby had a car, so we got into his car. I think we cut out a class one day.
Okay.
We took his car and we went down to Fordham Road in the Bronx, where the Selective Service Office was. We were going to sign up for the draft.
Yeah.
Because there's no way to escape it. And if you get a draft card, you can buy beer. That was proof that you were 18. Drinking age was 18 then. So we all went down there. Oh, let's get our draft cards. When we went down there, we're here to get our draft cards. And the lady's looking. She goes, "There's no more draft." And I'm like, "No." Well, it wasn't actually over yet, but it was planning. So they weren't taking anybody. They weren't signing you up. They weren't sending any more draft notices out. So we're like, "Oh man, now what do we do?"
Yeah.
Can't buy beer.
Right.
Yeah. I was going to bring up. Okay. I want you to open up 37. I'm going to bring up this guy. I know you're dying to talk about him. There he is.
I am not dying to talk about him.
Why not?
I just, it's a meme from, 7 years ago,
It's
whatever.
from 8 years ago, whatever it is. Okay, so
I just thought it was weird.
yeah, well, it was funny back then.
I guess. I just think he's weird. Also, I've seen reviews for his restaurant that
Okay,
don't
well,
look
that's
too
what I'm
hot.
going to get into. That's what I'm going to get into. Okay, that's why I'm bringing him up because the reason I'm bringing him, and I've been meaning to talk about it with you. We'll just touch lightly on
Also,
it.
the
It's
way
not a
he
big
handles
subject.
the meat is a little weird. Not a big fan. Like when he's,
Well, he wears gloves all the time.
yeah, but why is he like smacking it around and slapping it?
Yeah,
and
because
stuff?
he's
like,
putting on a show. Okay,
it's a little.
Listen, this is old news. This
It's
is
like,
old
hey,
news.
can you stop doing that? I'm gonna eat that in about 5
Let's
minutes.
talk about the new news.
Okay.
with Salt Bae.
Okay, what?
Okay.
Salt Bae. Yeah, that's who we're talking
Salt
about.
Bae. All right.
Should have said that already. Yeah.
So the guy's name is Nusra Garza. Nusra Garza. That's his actual name.
You don't know how to.
I know I'm
pronounce this guy's
pronouncing
name.
it exactly right.
Okay.
Okay. His restaurants are Nusret, right? Nusret?
Something like that.
Nusret. Yeah, Nusret. And with a oh yeah, Nusret is his first name. That's
Okay.
what it is. Nusret Garza.
Okay.
Okay. And his name is, the restaurants has a hyphen and then ret at the end,
Okay.
which means meat in Turkish.
I was gonna say, is it Turkish?
Yeah.
Is it Turkey.
Yes.
Okay.
See what he did? See what he did there?
Yep.
Okay. So the thing, I'm just going to bring him up briefly. So I got a meme and I'm like, why am I getting a Salt Bae meme? This is like almost 10 years old already, you know?
Right.
And so I go online and I look and I see everybody hates this guy. Everybody absolutely hates this guy, and they hate his restaurants and they hate his food. And
Okay.
and he's apparently recently. The news is that he's like closing up all his restaurants, or
Yeah.
a bunch of them anyway, some of them,
Right.
and moving them to, but opening up like in Madrid and in South America, in Mexico, I think,
Okay.
and a couple of places in Spain. So he's opening up new places. And the thing with him is, look, he's a businessman. I respect businessmen. I mean, the guy took a meme back then and he exploded it and he rode with it and he
sure.
did really well with it. He was already successful at the time. He was like, he had like 7 or 8 restaurants already,
Okay.
you know, and he had and then he took advantage of this explosion of popularity there was no TikTok back then, I guess, right?
I don't think so. No.
What was he on? What was it?
Oh,
Twitter.
probably just Instagram and
Yeah,
Twitter maybe, yeah.
Instagram probably, and took advantage of it. And he got a bunch of money from an investment banking guy in Greece, not Greece, in Turkey.
Mhm.
And because open up these restaurants is like really expensive. They're like,
Sure.
it's like $10-20 million just open up one. It's going to cost $20 million to open up a restaurant in Manhattan. So anyway, so he's got a bunch of those and they're closing up, and he seems like he's consolidating. So I don't think he's going out of business, but I noticed that everyone talks about him like he's horrible. He's terrible. He's got $1,000 steaks. What happened was apparently not that long ago, he posted probably Instagram or maybe it was TikTok. He posted a receipt for one of his meals, and I think it was it might have been Dubai, and it was $108,000 was the bill. It was some other number,
crazy.
but I mean in US dollars, it came out to $108,000.
It was like from his restaurant.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So the steak. So I also noticed that all of
A
these.
lot of alcohol must be.
Yeah. Well, the alcohol bill was like $54,000 or
Yeah,
something.
it's crazy.
Mm.
A lot of aged wine, whatever.
Yeah. And so a lot of people hate this guy too because they think that he's serving crap,
Okay.
right? So I'm looking at this. It doesn't look like crap, but I guess when you go to a restaurant, if you're paying $1,000 or $1,200 for a gold encrusted steak, because that's his thing, right? He covers them in gold.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, he does. He covers.
Okay.
He gets. You can go on Amazon and get like sheets of gold.
Yeah.
And wrap your hamburgers in it if you want.
Sure.
They're like $2. So he wraps it in gold and chops it up and does this big show and puts the salt on and then charges people a lot of money. But he's selling an experience. His product is not really that great. It's just regular steak.
Okay.
I mean, it's not, and that's probably why he's closing up in these, like in New York City. How are you going to come up with a new way to serve a really great steak in New York City? There are already great steaks in New York City.
Yeah.
You have to have that experience. Nobody's going to pay you $1,000 over and over and over again. You're not going to get repeat customers.
Right.
Nobody's going to do that. So if you take something like Apple sells and I'm just using them as an example because they're such an obvious one, but they sell user experience, Salt Bae, right? But they also sell quality product, even though that's been sinking lately, don't you think?
Sure.
A little bit. So people come back and you can't exist, and that's what happens. So there's a moral to that story. If you look at even some of the EV companies, like what's the one we were talking about recently?
I don't know.
That went out of business.
Oh, I don't know the name of that. I don't remember.
Let me see. Fisker.
Okay.
Fisker, for example. Nikola. They went out. They were fake. They were running fake ads. They were showing electric tractor trailers rolling down the highway, but they had no power.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The engines didn't work.
Yeah. Wow.
So they're out of business. So you can't lie to people. You have to have a good product, and you have to have a user experience as well. That's just the moral of the story. So that's why this guy's getting kicked out of the country.
Yeah. I bought like $4 or $5 worth of Fisker stock.
$4 or $5?
Yeah. Remember when, okay. So their stock tanked when Marquez Brownlee put out a review of their car. And he said it's like the worst car he's ever driven.
Yep.
So the stock totally tanked. Right. Which just shows you the power of YouTuber tech reviews.
Yeah.
By the way.
Yeah.
So I bought some stock because it was like 8 cents a share or 30 cents a share. I don't know, it was something ridiculously low.
Right.
So I bought it figuring like if it's a Hertz type thing. Remember when Hertz dropped?
Yep.
And Hertz was like 10 cents a share or something.
Yep.
And it's like, well, if I bought $1 of that, I'd own 10 Hertz stock. Now it's like $30 a share. It's like, oh, well, I wish I had bought in then. Would have been a ridiculous multiple.
Like I did.
So you bought a little bit, right?
I bought some.
And I told you to.
You did.
And you didn't like it because
it goes against my investment philosophy. It goes against your philosophy.
But I figure, what's there to lose? I mean, if they come back, you'll have like it'll be like a 300x multiple of anyway.
And all it was so against my philosophy. It's ridiculous. First of all, the management, they're a bunch of crooks. I think it was like so. I don't know if I shouldn't say that, but they're not type of people that I want to be in business with.
Yes.
And I just
so anyway,
totally against my philosophy.
So I bought some of the Fisker stock hoping it would happen. It didn't. They went out of business. I lost $4.
No.
But I figured if I buy $4 and all of a sudden their stock jumps like 20x, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
It did not.
Did not.
So it was just a fun little thing.
Yeah. And we go to Peter Luger's. I'm going to use the steak as an example.
Okay.
And by the way, you mentioned the YouTubers. Was it YouTubers or influencers or whatever?
Yeah, it's a YouTuber.
YouTuber.
It's both.
Yeah. That's another thing with him. If you go in there, all these food reviewers, guys that make steaks and all this kind of stuff, they go out to the restaurant and they pay, and then they review this guy.
Sure.
And they come up with these horrible reviews.
Really?
Yeah. And there's a lot of them. There's a lot. There's probably got to be a dozen of these people that go out and review his food and they hate it. But these, they're also like, they're these celebrity chef wannabes.
Yeah, but they're very powerful. You can call them wannabes, but I mean, they're better known to people younger than you. They're better known than the celebrity chefs.
Oh no, I know who they are too, and I watch them.
You know what I mean, though.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're under 40, you don't even have cable anymore.
Right.
So you're not watching Food Network.
I just think that there might be a degree of envy or jealousy that they go in and destroy.
I think maybe
somebody.
Maybe. I mean, I
picked that up a little bit.
Yeah, there are people who do. You mentioned Peter Luger for some reason, but that reminded me. There are influencer food critics who will do Peter Luger. They'll go with Peter Luger, and they don't love it as much. Especially, I watched one where it was like younger girls, like women, and they were like, it was okay and everything, but they didn't love it.
Yeah. They don't like the treatment.
I convinced my friends, my group of guys, that Peter Luger's is probably pretty good. And I did so using the negative reviews on Google from Peter Luger.
Oh, okay. Peter Luger's.
It's actually just Peter Luger.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You just say it wrong.
I've been saying it wrong my whole life.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but anyway, it's reviews like, the waiter, it's like the food was good, but the waiter never smiled.
No.
And he didn't really seem to care if I enjoyed it. And he forced me to take a selfie for like so I could remember my experience.
Must have been Carl.
Yeah, it's like the waiter came over. He did not smile. He forced you to take a picture to remember the experience.
Wow.
And she said it may be uncomfortable or something. It was like, yeah, these guys are not nice.
Was it like a 20-something?
Yeah,
girl
right.
or
It came
something?
across that way. Where it's like, oh, they didn't honor my special request for this, and this.
Yeah.
And they didn't apologize when they didn't get my special request perfect or
Yeah.
something. It's like,
Yeah.
because I tried to alter the menu. So the reviews are like, yeah, it's like, these are just like a bunch of older men, older German men who are going to serve you your food.
Yeah.
And you're going to love it. And you should order the right stuff. You should order what is it? You should order the medium rare steak for 2.
Right.
You should order the cream
Porterhouse.
spinach.
Cream spinach.
And
You get the German
potatoes.
Yeah, that comes with it. Yeah.
And the oh my god, those giant onion slices with the tomato slices.
Yeah, they're really good.
Get all that, and they'll love you. If you just order all that and you eat it and you love
don't
it,
ask questions.
they approve.
Well, that's
They're
the
like,
thing.
good, you're a good customer.
That's the thing.
You know?
When you went, one of the first times I went there, I've been going there for years, but it didn't happen to us the last time we were there. But the guy came out. I forget what waiter it was, and he came out and he said, "Would you like a menu, or have you been here before?"
Yeah,
and I'm like, I think that was the first time I was ever there. I go, that's pretty impressive.
yeah.
And the guy I was with, I think his name was Bill. He goes, "We've been here before." And he just like, okay, and he just leaves.
Or when
They know what you want.
Yeah, not the last time we were there, but when we had Carl, the waiter,
Right.
and he came over and we had the schlag on the table, which
Right.
is like the thick whipped cream,
Right.
and you had a coffee, and he just points, he says, "Put schlag in your coffee,"
Yeah.
and with like a little smile, but he
Yeah.
told you to do it.
Right.
He didn't say, "Hey, if you want to, you could try." He said, "Put schlag in your coffee,"
Right.
and you. Okay, so he did it. And, okay, good, thank
Yeah.
you. So, but people don't like that; it's too pushy.
Well,
it scares people.
Your mother we were there with your mother.
Yeah,
Not the last time, but the time before that. And, she's celiac. She's got gluten-free.
gluten-free.
So we're going around and he's coming and he comes out with the cream spinach.
Yeah.
And he's putting everything on he's
going to serve it.
putting spinach on everybody's plate. And he gets to her and he goes, "None for you."
Yeah, right.
And she's like, "Excuse me."
Yeah.
Yeah. That's part of the charm. That's
But
part of
that rattles people,
Yeah,
especially
it does.
especially like younger female millennials.
Yeah.
Totally rattles them. You know.
But that's part of the thing, okay? That's the user experience. You have to expect it. And it comes.
There's a charm to it.
It's a New York charm. It's a German
German New York charm.
German New York charm.
Sure.
Yeah. So therefore it's rude and it has no sense of humor. So
But the food is good.
actually, yeah, but the food is so
food is
good.
good.
So you have to appreciate the charm.
Yes.
And then you do appreciate the food because, man, is it good.
Right.
Those are the best steaks. Everybody knows it. And every other restaurant wishes they could make them.
Yep.
And they can't.
Going back to politics for a second.
Yeah, sure.
I brought up collectivism before and
Yeah.
tearing down the past, building anew. So, and part of that is you have to get people emotional. They have to begin to resent the way things are, the way things have been.
Right.
And that's important to get them motivated to take action. And part of the things that I've studied and I've gone on a few podcasts and talked about Saul Alinsky and how he used ridicule to get a rise out of people, to get people upset. And when people are upset, they make more mistakes. So he used to use directed, very tactical ridicule in order to upset the right people at the right times so they would be poor negotiators. They would mess up, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how he'd get what he wants. So, and Saul Alinsky, okay, just for people listening, community organizer, one of the first from all the way back from the 1940s, but also in the 60s and the 70s. And he's a progressive. He's a leftist.
There's a way, by the way, I know you're not going to go into it, but there is a way, there is a spiritual reason for that.
Okay.
Why that works. We can get into it or not.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, so go ahead.
So and the thing is, that's been the playbook for the left for the past 100 years has
Right.
been, or at least 50 years, has basically been this sort of get your opponents angry. It's like, well, how are you getting your opponents? Well, Saul Alinsky used ridicule, but he also talked about what made a good community organizer? What makes a good leader for movements like this? The kind that organize protests, sit-ins, basically causing havoc. He wrote Rules for Radicals, right?
Right.
Causing radical behavior, organizing it and flustering your opponents. It's anger. It's emotion. It's emotion.
Sure it is.
And he said he used to think just like general anger was good enough. But then he realized that somebody who can put themselves in the shoes of the people that they're leading, which this is almost gets a little too poetic, but basically becomes so empathetic with the people that he's leading, that he himself is feeling their pain and feeling their anger. That's the best organizer.
Okay.
So basically a very empathetic, emotional person makes the best community organizer.
Sure.
And that goes to what we talked to about dropping your anger, not being angry, not being emotional, becoming resilient to stress by watching thoughts and emotions as they arise and then handling the situation accordingly. It goes against all that. It's saying use anger as a weapon. Weaponize anger and hone it as your tool, direct it at your opponent so you can fluster them and get them angry who don't know how to use it as a tool.
So you're saying
and they mess up.
The community. So if you wanted a community organizer to go into an area and do your bidding, first thing you might do is get your organizer angry.
Right.
Right.
Now,
I got it. Okay.
Now they're very careful about this. They don't want and this is so, the reason I'm bringing this up now is it's so, what I found out yesterday is so on the nose. It almost sounds like I'm making it up, and I'm not. The co-director of Saul Alinsky's organization, which is called the Industrial Areas Foundation. It was from the 1940s, but it still exists today. It's one of the oldest community organizing organizations. The co-director, Ernesto Cortez, his entire concept is called cold anger. And it's taking people who are hotheads, hot anger, who are angry and want to outburst, and teaching them how to stifle it, let it brew, and then direct it strategically. And that's what he calls cold anger. So you take that anger, that impulsive anger, the same impulsive anger you're trying to incite in your opponents, you take it in your people, and you tone it down in order to have it just be your energy source under the surface without causing you to do any politically naive outbursts.
You have to be suppressed.
So you suppress your anger,
right.
You turn it into what he calls a cold anger. And you use that as your energy source. So you're still using anger. And now these words they almost don't matter spiritually, because either way you're angry. And
yeah.
Right. But on a political level, it's like, yeah, if you want to gain political power, you can't just be impulsive and have outbursts. You have to be strategic and calculated. So he teaches them how to use their anger in a calculated, strategic way. But you're still fueled by anger.
So is the purpose of, I don't know if you know the purpose, but I'm asking, is the purpose of that to camouflage your aim?
Yes and no.
Okay.
It's so you don't self-destruct.
Because I can see value in that.
It's so you don't immediately self-destruct.
Like if I have anger and I'm moving and I want a certain, let's say you talk about politics, I want a certain political ends to come.
Yeah.
And I'm going to use my anger to do whatever I need to do in the community to make that happen.
Right.
And I'm angry. I don't want the people that I'm going to get angry to think that I'm a hothead.
Right.
I want them to think, no, I'm controlled. I know what I'm talking about. I've thought this through. This is perfectly intellectually sound.
Right.
And we can do this.
Right.
I don't want to, because this is not very becoming.
Well, not only is it not becoming, but angry people have trouble organizing. They can't plan well.
Yeah,
they're
they
too
can't
angry.
because they can't think straight.
Right. They're too impulsive.
Yeah, correct.
So it's like, okay, we're going to teach you how to think straight.
Right.
But we need you to stay angry. So we're going to take that impulsive anger and make it into a cold, calculated one.
Yeah.
And we're going to use that to incite our opponent's anger. They'll be all flustered and impulsive. So you actually incite hot anger in your opponents with your own cold anger, and using their own terminology.
I would say cold, angry people die young.
Yeah, this is all very bad for you. This is
Yeah.
all extremely bad for you.
Yeah.
And I think what we're seeing now with the last week, going on 2 weeks ago now, the not the State of the Union, but Trump's State of the Union, but
Yeah.
Trump's congressional address.
Yeah. Really a State of the Union.
It was really State of the Union. That address where we saw the booing and this people jeering and leaving the room from Democrats, very unbecoming, very angry.
Terrible.
That was impulsive anger.
Right.
That wasn't cold anger.
Right.
And I think what's happened is the lesson that I learned from this is sooner or later, you think you're using anger as your energy, it's going to kill you. And you're not going to be able to contain it. And now the left is just self-destructing with anger. They're frustrated and angry. And that's why it's so important that the right does not, because I've seen people on the right before, luckily nobody too prominent, but say like, yeah, we're angry, we want to embrace that anger and we're going to use it, stuff like that. I don't love the kind of joke that Trump makes when he talks about like, I'm angry and I got angry, and he goes rah, and it's he's putting on a show. I still don't love it. I don't think it's a great message to send.
Right.
Anger does kill you, even if it takes decades. And if you have this cold, calculated anger, and that's your energy source for your movement, which has been the left for the past 50 years, it's coming back to bite them now because now they're all angry.
Right.
And the truth is, cold anger turns to hot anger. It comes out.
But it also it kills you in the end, but it makes you sick along the way. You become mentally and you become physically and mentally ill because you're spiritually ill. Yeah. And that's what's going on with these people. These people are spiritually ill.
Yeah.
Like what was the guy's name? And why do they all have canes? Well, they get spiritually ill. But what is the physically ill?
Al Green.
Al Green, yeah. Al Green.
Yeah.
Wasn't Al Green like a Motown singer from the 60s?
Is he?
No, not him, but there was a name like that. Was it Al Green?
It's not the same guy, right?
Can't be the same guy.
Okay.
No, please. No, he was actually, he had a nice voice.
Because I know vaguely who you're talking about.
Yeah.
And I never thought it was the same guy.
Oh my
God.
the same guy. No, it can't be the same guy.
No, I don't think it is.
No.
I don't think. No, this guy's been in government his whole life.
Yeah.
He's a government guy.
Yeah, I think Al Green.
He's never actually contributed to society in any meaningful way.
Right.
So anyway, the point was that the self-admittedly, the left's entire movement has been motivated and energized by anger.
Right.
And they thought that they could use this anger in a more calculated, slow-moving way in order to sustain their movement. But when they meet an opposition that doesn't get riled by their anger, that doesn't get flustered and emotional in response, they're left with their own anger. Yeah, right. It does boil over. It becomes hot anger.
Yeah, if you do that,
and that's what they have now.
If you're cool and calm, if you're like James Bond, and you walk into a room of angry people, they recognize you. They're bothered by your presence,
right?
And you're not bothered by theirs, and they can't stand. It's like hitting a wall. They don't know what to do, and they will self-destruct. They will implode, or they will attack you.
Yeah,
I don't know if they'll throw rocks at you, but you'll make them very uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's all I wanted to.
Okay.
Share now.
Just something real quick about you. We were talking about investments. That reminded me of something that I've been looking at the past couple of days. This company. Trump issued a memo the other day. I think it was what's today? Today's the 14th. Oh, I think maybe it was. I have 21 in my head, so maybe it was February 21st. He issued a memo, basically trying to curtail American investments in Chinese companies.
Okay,
because a lot of the companies that would raise money from Americans are putting it into defense, and they're building aircraft carriers, and they're developing missile systems. They're developing weapons against us,
against our interests,
against us. So they're supposed to stop that. So there's this company now called Cattle. That's the symbol. I can't think of it. Look up Cattle. CATL. I think it is. What's the name of the company?
That's their stock symbol.
Yeah, that's a stock symbol. CATL.
Cattle is Contemporary Amperex Technology Company Limited. It's a Chinese
Yeah.
battery manufacturer.
Chinese company. So yeah, this goes back to, they make the lithium batteries. They make like almost 40% of all the lithium batteries in the world.
Wow.
Yeah. And so they can't trade here in the United States. We don't trade, like, you can buy foreign stocks here in the States through what they call ADLs, American Depository Receipts, and you own the receipts, and then what?
Where's the L come from?
ADRs, excuse me. And
Yeah.
and you can invest in foreign companies that way, but they don't want Chinese companies trading on the New York Stock Exchange, and already are, by the way. And they certainly don't want this company doing it.
Okay.
So what they're doing is they're going public pretty soon in Hong Kong.
Okay.
And the problem is that companies like Goldman Sachs, Bank of America is another one,
Yeah.
Morgan Stanley, they're all putting their investors into these companies on the Hong Kong exchange because they have all these private funds. We're talking about billions and billions and billions of dollars. And this memo is supposed to be preventing that, and they're not doing anything. They're going, no, we're going to keep doing it. They're going to keep. They open up these what they call war rooms.
So these companies are holding out. They're
saying no. Yeah. Well, okay.
They're testing the administration.
I think so. I'm not sure yet. I'm still looking at the situation. What they're doing is they're declaring, okay, we've opened up our war rooms, and a war room is it's a big deal. Okay, you get your attorneys and your analysts and your compliance people and everything, and you start analyzing the situation, and it's a big project. It's a big thing because you have to change everything. You have to change.
Yeah, entire business plan. Sure,
everything changes about how you invest. And that's what we're looking at it. But in the meantime, they're still supporting it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they're just staving it off, but the president has said, we don't want you doing that. And it's not an EO. There's no legality really behind it. So it's just a memo, but
seems like a warning. Has
weight. I mean, what's the one with that Obama did with the immigrants with the,
I don't know. Dreamers?
Yeah. What was that
DACA?
called? Yeah. DACA. Yeah, DACA. That was a memo.
That was a memo?
So it has weight.
Right.
But if these guys don't want to do it, it's pretty bad. That company, another stock market thing. Can I talk about the stock market again?
Sure.
Okay. Before we wrap up, I wanted to talk about, because you had said to me, I told you that Newsmax is going public on 31st, and IPO. Yeah. You said you were bearish.
I said bear.
Yeah. Tell me why.
Here's why. Okay. No reasons that any professional investor would appreciate.
All right.
Okay. But like we've talked about before, personally, making investment choices should be based on companies you believe in. We're not day traders. We don't like Hertz. We don't say, oh, look how low it is, I'm going to buy in now.
Right.
It's like, no, I don't like Hertz. I don't believe in Hertz. I don't like their management. I don't like.
Then why don't you tell me to buy it? Never mind.
Because we were going against that whole philosophy. But that was just like a few bucks on what had become a penny stock somehow. But with Newsmax, the way the entire media industry is going is online. It's podcast. It's social media, it's podcast, it's independent.
Right.
And Newsmax is a fairly new company who, as far as I can tell, their entire business strategy is old media.
Right.
They're a cable news channel.
It's kind of old, yeah.
It's cable news.
Yeah, their format is kind of old.
The only reason you even have access to it is because I basically converted everybody to Roku, right? Got rid of Comcast.
At my request.
I think I'm the one who kind of got the ball rolling on that.
Right.
But anyway, I got Roku's and was like, this is what everybody's doing now.
Right.
And you bought Sling, which is an app for Roku that's going to simulate cable by providing you the channels through the internet that cable used to provide.
It's still streaming, though. I mean,
it's still streaming. It's not cable.
Right.
So it's a cable simulation app, basically. And you have to pay for it, but you get to stream the cable channels now.
Right, sure.
So once all the boomers are gone, Sling is going to have trouble keeping people
Right.
because people under 40 are not. They're not buying Sling in order to. They're not watching Fox News. They're not watching CNN. I mean, the average age of a CNN viewer is like in the 70s or 60s. It's something crazy. Like the average age of the viewers is like 60 something. That's crazy.
Yeah, pretty old.
So Newsmax's entire setup seems to be the kind of system that's going away.
That's going away. Yeah, their market is pretty old. I think I look at the ads they run. They're all like,
oh my god,
geriatric supplements.
I got to tell you, and I will use Sling and I'll log on and watch because I like hearing Larry Kudlow. He's on Fox Business.
Sure.
I like hearing Rob Schmidt is pretty good on Newsmax.
Yeah.
Sometimes Greg Kelly, he's entertaining. And
I like Greg Kelly.
Yeah, he's fun. So there's some channels, and the 5 can be interesting too. Greg Gutfeld, right?
Yeah.
We're Greg Gutfeld super fans in this house.
No, we're not.
We're not. No, but we do. He is.
We are going to the show.
Yeah, we're going to his show. That's why I said that, but we're not.
Enough said. Okay.
So anyway, my point is, but I'll turn it off. I'll put it on because I want to hear some of those guys.
Right.
And I'll turn it off because of the ads. Because first of all, every 7 minutes it feels like is an advertisement, and it's always for some sort of something for your prostate, or so you can pee again, or
Huckabee, so you can sleep.
Yeah, so you can sleep, so you don't have to get up and pee in the middle of the night. All this stuff.
All right, so what? So we're talking about why you're bearish.
Yeah, so that's why I'm bearish.
Because you think they're going away.
I don't see this. You don't see it as
a long-term investment.
This current business model that they have,
right?
I see it being defunct within 20 years.
Okay, so maybe that's what they're going to use the money for. To upgrade, to pivot. Yeah. Because it's expensive. Pivots are expensive, typically. Okay. The thing I'm kind of bearish on it too. I'm not going to buy any IPO stock. Okay. Okay. And the reason I'm not going to is because, they've been running a private placement for a long time now. Right. Right. Which, probably Reg D, I guess is Reg D, which is accredited investors, right? You know how that works. Yes. Okay. So they've been running it a long time. So I looked into it. They've raised a lot of money already. They've raised a couple $100 million. Wow. Doing that already. This IPO is smaller than the private placement, as far as I can tell. Okay. I didn't look into it that greatly. It's not as much. So you have all of this stock out there. Okay. Being held privately, it's convertible share. They are convertible shares. Okay. Okay. They are preferred shares. Most of them, I didn't look into it, but there's a lot of preferred shares, and those are convertible. Preferred shares, which means they're convertible to common stock. Yes. Which means that on the date of the IPO opening, they're opening at $10 a share is what they're saying. You are able to buy private shares, right, in the private placement memorandum, which is the offering material. IPO, okay. IPO get a okay. For a discount, you were able to buy. Let's just say if it's $10. I haven't seen it, but if it was $10 and you were able to buy it at $7.50. Yeah. So you get a discount. Yep. That means that if it opens up at $10, you can sell it into the market at $10. That means all of these people that are holding these shares now are going to dump their shares to the $10 payers. Do you think they will, though? Yeah. You think they will? A lot of them, that's the strategy. That's why people buy private placement private placements in order to own the shares. Well, you would hope that whoever was doing this deal would have been more prudent in who they were selecting. Well, they have a wait period, a cooling off period that you have to wait 6 months or a year or whatever it is before you can sell those shares. There's that. Yes. I don't know if this offering has that. I would have thought that the deal makers would be more would be careful in who they choose to have invest in the company. No, you mean in the private placement memorandum? Yes. They're supposed to. Well, all they have to do is stick by the law, and if you make the right amount, if you have I forget what it is now. Yeah, I think it's up to it's like $200,000 in income and net worth $5 million or more. Yeah, there's a few different for individuals. Ways. Then you can buy in. But another thing that you can do if you don't want to substantiate all that, all you need is a letter from your accountant. Oh yeah, yeah, that's all. Wow, yeah. So you can take them out to lunch, and so you can have anybody investing in this thing. And these are people that might be looking to dump their shares, which I'm not 100% sure that they can't, or can or can't. But if anybody does own those shares, or if anybody's thinking about buying into that IPO, typically you hope that the IPO opens and there's such a demand for it that it closes at the end of that day higher, right? Like Apple.
Sure.
Apple opened up when Apple did their IPO. I don't remember the exact numbers, but it was like something like $30 a share, or $20 a share, and they close at $37 a share, something like that. But they can get driven down if there's a whole bunch of stock coming in, diluting it.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't know if that's the case with Newsmax, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Let me show you this video. When you brought up Trump before, it made me think of this.
Right.
Because, of course, and we also talked about electric cars, and that made me think of Elon. And I saw this video last night, and it's actually from Obama. And it's a real video.
Okay. It's not AI?
No. I'm just putting it in mind. Think Elon and Trump, right? Elon shared this on X.
Okay.
Okay, but this is from Obama from 2012.
Right.
Okay. He's obviously president at this point in time.
Everyone knows that getting rid of the deficit will require some tough decisions. And that includes cutting back on billions of dollars in programs that a lot of people care about. But what should be easy is getting rid of the pointless waste and stupid spending that doesn't benefit anybody. Waste we should be getting rid of, even if we didn't have a deficit. Sure, some of these cuts aren't that big, but no amount of waste is acceptable. Not when it's your money. Not at a time when so many Americans are already cutting back. Just as families are living within their means, government should too. Did you know the federal government pays for a website devoted to a folk music ensemble made up of forest rangers? They're called the Fiddlin' Foresters.
Yeah!
Yahoo!
I'll put their music on my iPod, but I'm not paying for their website.
Yeah, right.
And there are hundreds of similar sites that we should consolidate or just get rid of. By the way, you're not only paying for websites no one needs, you're paying for thousands of buildings all across the country no one uses. For the last decade, the government's owned a massive and completely empty warehouse in the middle of Brooklyn, for example. Now, the government hadn't been able to sell this building.
Okay.
It sounds like Obama invented DOGE.
It literally sounds exactly like DOGE.
Yeah.
Even the marketing of this program is like, it's like, here, take a look at this. Isn't this silly? Shouldn't we not be funding this? No, I know it's not a lot of money, but it adds up over time, and we really shouldn't be paying for it. Right. It's literally what Elon is doing.
That's exactly what he's doing.
And now what's funny about this...
Actually, he's doing it better because the numbers are much higher.
What's funny about this is at the end, he says he's putting Joe Biden in charge.
Oh, great.
So Joe Biden comes in, he's going to talk about how he's going to do it, and we're setting up a new way for the government to be structured going forward into the future, whatever. And of course, it's all BS because none of this stopped, and Joe Biden was president, and it got way worse.
Right.
So,
right.
But it was just funny to me. This sounded exactly like DOGE.
Yeah, it does.
It does, right?
It is DOGE. Okay.
So that's all for today.
Yeah, that's all for today.
Okay, cool.
All right.